Welcome back, everybody, to the Beyond the Code podcast. I'm here with Fred Shepherd. I'm your host today, Eddie Field.
Hey, it's great to be here.
Great to see you, man. Great to see you. I hear you're talking about ethics today.
Yeah, if I say to you ethics in software, like what's the first thing you're thinking of? What comes to mind?
The first thing is Lockheed Martin, defense, aerospace, and such.
Yeah, like that's kind of the obvious one. Like that's what everyone thinks of. But actually, there's a lot more involved in ethics, right? You know, there's kind of lots of day-to-day stuff that we all deal with. You know, I'd say that 90% of software developers out there, when they go into the field, they'll be dealing with APIs, databases, legacy kind of stuff, API protocols. And this is actually where you see your kind of the most ethics can be most often neglected, right? That's like your day-to-day stuff that, if it's not done properly, can cause serious harm to a lot of people.
GDPR and such.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we have some really good case studies here that kind of highlight cases where people have been negligent. It's been really kind of small things. It's not so much the maliciousness, you know, I'm gonna write some code that causes harm to people. It's that we'll push that out to next sprint. That's not something we need to focus on now. And you get some really serious consequences out of it.
It's more of a negligence point of view.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah, so what are some of those case studies you were talking about?
Yeah, so really big one, even earlier just this year, T. Not you.
Yes, I heard about that. I was going to ask you, but I wanted to see what you had first.
Yeah, so for those unaware, T was a kind of a dating safety app for women that was kind of taken apart recently, grew big at the start of this year. What it was a place for women to come on and kind of talk to each other about men and kind of dating men, kind of go for red flags, avoid dangerous men, kind of make sure they stayed safe. So they really pushed in that market. You could really see it. They pushed for safety, security, working together. And one of the things you had to do when you signed up for T was you had to submit a proof that you were a woman, right? Because otherwise the whole thing falls apart.
Yeah, it doesn't really make any sense then.
Exactly. So they had to submit a ID that proved they were a woman. And when they did that on the T app, it said, oh yeah, this is only, you know, save temporarily, just enough to verify who you are, and then safely delete it. Turns out that wasn't the case.
Yeah.
Because then at the start of this year, there was a hack from 4chan where they found a Firebase database with open to the internet, with bad security, bad protocols, lax privileges, and turns out basically anyone could access it.
Yeah.
And so what happened was the IDs, the passports, driving license, really serious stuff of tens of thousands of women.
Yeah, they were
over the internet.
completely exposed. I also heard that the developer of the website was he was just a business major or something, and he just got into AI, like ChatGPT, writing code that way.
Yeah, exactly. So a real just case of negligence, didn't really understand what he was doing, didn't understand the importance of security and access control. And so really ironic where this place where women kind of came to for safety and just the details to for safety then blew up into this massive thing because, you know, addresses, passports, IDs, they have those women's addresses on it.
Yeah.
So actually it became a targeting ground where people from 4chan would go on to this data leak and find these women, find their addresses and dox them, you know, kind of reveal their addresses. And some serious harassment, some awful cases occurred.
So if you were someone wanting to code their own app, how would you navigate this in the safest way possible?
Yeah, so there's some really kind of important areas that you need to focus on. Data minimization is something, especially in the EU, under GDPR, kind of DMA, all these acts that the EU have brought in, it's really important that you hold data for the absolute minimum amount of time it needs to be held for, right? This database had data entries 6 months old that were held like just in case.
Yeah.
That can't happen. That is so illegal in the EU. So what you need to do is you have to kind of really strict data policies where once it's needed, you know, you take a picture, you verify, and that's deleted. Properly deleted, gone from your system, not just archived. And then in cases where it does need to be held, when you might need to kind of re-verify, you need to go back on that, then it's really important that you have access policies, right? Where you're periodically reviewing your databases, you're making sure, anything which is open to the internet is properly accessible so that only the people who need to access it can access it. And if not everyone needs to access it, then that should be behind VPNs, internal networks, so that nobody can just go on and take a look at this stuff.
Yeah.
So it's a hard thing to get right, but you can see here it's so important.
Yeah. It's a mindset really coding in that way.
Exactly, yeah. It can't be, you know, if you're sitting in a sprint and it comes up to like, oh yeah, review legacy S3 buckets, and you're like, That's not urgent. Let's push it back. You keep pushing it, and it just takes one incident, and now it's all blown up. So it could be really severe consequences.
For anybody who doesn't know, an S3 bucket is a cloud storage on AWS.
Yeah, exactly.
So what's another example of developers being negligent?
Yeah, so there's a really awful case study back in 2018 with Uber self-driving cars. So what happened is, I have the report up here. What happened is, it was a self-driving test vehicle. So it wasn't even on the road. They were using it for testing. It was driving at night, multi-lane road. And what happened was, if you read the report, it was Elaine Herzberg, right? And she's going across this multi-lane highway. She's got a bicycle with her. And 6 seconds before impact, the car sees there's something there, right? Car's going at 43 miles per hour. That's a long distance, right? So it's seen her ages away. First, classified it as an unknown object, then a vehicle, then a bicycle. And each classification it kind of makes different paths, because it's kind of assuming, oh, it must be going this fast, it must be doing this. So it's coming up with different things. It took 1.3 seconds before impact did the system conclude that emergency braking was necessary. 1.3 seconds, that's too late by that point.
Yeah.
Right?
You'd think that either way, out of all those objects, the first thing you would do would be to reduce speed.
Exactly. Do you want to know the worst thing? During autonomous driving mode, emergency braking was disabled.
That just sounds ridiculous.
Right? Because they didn't want the car braking erratically to ruin the passenger's experience.
Okay.
So what they were expecting, the thought process was that there'd be a driver in the car, there's a safety driver, and that he would see the person and brake in time.
Okay. So completely eliminating the reliance on the
and they had redundancy. They had two safety drivers.
And is that also like a thing that, you might know this, but is that a thing that they warn people about in terms of like that? The braking.
This is only a test.
Okay.
So they're not driving around. This is an actual Uber driver, an actual passenger. This is just testing for Uber self-driving vehicles. It gets worse. So originally they had 2 safety drivers, one to monitor the system, the self-driving system, make sure it's all okay, one to monitor the road. They got rid of one of them.
The one that was watching the road?
No, they just got rid of one and said, you're right, you have to monitor both.
I see.
Right? To, and I quote, streamline the system. Right? You can take from that what you will. So there's only one driver. He's on his phone. Right?
Literally one job.
So he's in this autonomous vehicle, he's on his phone.
Yeah.
Final little nail in the coffin. So the system has decided, I need to emergency brake. But it's been overridden. It says, no, we don't do that because the driver's going to do that.
I see.
We don't want erratic behavior. It doesn't tell the driver he needs to emergency brake. It goes, oh man, there's something here. I need to brake now.
Yeah.
Silence.
Okay. Is there anything to be said that this is a test or development system and that they were supposed to have safeguards for this, being the driver?
Yeah, they had not enough safeguards whatsoever.
Yeah.
That's the driver was charged for negligence, I believe manslaughter. Yeah, so Uber weren't charged. They were described as having an inadequate safety culture. Was what happened. But there's no kind of charge out of it.
And was there any fines or any repercussions, really?
Not that we were able to find, no. So it all kind of went on this driver.
So just literally criminal charges for this driver.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
if you think about it, that driver was in the car for hours for this test, right?
Yeah.
One human should not be your only line of defense between life and death.
Yeah.
So there was a serious kind of systemic lack of thought about how do we make this usable, safe. There's no risk assessment carried out. At the time in America, there's very little legislation for how self-driving cars should be regulated. It's all kind of voluntary, very kind of, oh yeah, we volunteer to do this assessment, but you didn't have to.
Yeah.
So it's very kind of common touch and go between car companies about how much went on. And so let's think, if you're the engineer in that situation, you've got, okay, well, what you need to be thinking, well, what happens if we can't classify it immediately, right? 6 seconds, it goes unknown object. You're thinking, right, what would we do? You said it right at the start, slow down.
Yeah.
There's something up ahead. I don't know what it is. I need to slow down. Right, we've gotten closer. I can tell now, I think it's a vehicle. Well, I might need to swerve, but I definitely need to slow down. It's a bicycle. Oh, crap, that's a human. What happens now? The autonomous vehicle needs to be able to emergency brake. right? Erratic behavior is bad. Loss of human life is far worse.
Yeah.
So really, really, like that needs to be something. Even non-self-driving cars now, when you drive up right close to it, they'll brake for you.
Yeah, I've actually seen a few videos online of people when they're driving in front of Teslas and they know they're using self-driving. They'll brake check them.
Yeah.
And the car behind them will just completely stop.
Yeah. So at the time, they didn't want to implement that.
I think that's the way. Well, emergency brakes when you're getting brake checked is a bit drastic, but I think that it's better to be safe than sorry.
Exactly.
Just because obviously someone could rear-end them.
Yeah.
But in a situation where that doesn't happen, I think that's okay.
Yeah, but like you need to kind of always be thinking. We've been told the whole way up from college. It's so easy to code the happy path.
Yeah.
What happens when you leave the happy path? If I can classify that, that's a tree from 6 seconds away. Happy days. That's great. What if I can't? What do you do? And these are the kind of things you need to think about. And it is an ethical consideration. When you're dealing with these kind of concepts, it is absolutely ethical to think of these.
I remember one time in first year you were telling me about people who code they write the tests first. And I feel like this is ringing a bell with the ethics. It's nearly like that you just have this mindset of like thinking of what bad things can happen first and coding in that way.
Exactly. I mean, even in non-critical situations, what can go wrong should always be at the front of your mind. What if I can't reach that database? What if the web service is down? What if? These are all things that'll make you a better software developer, but also a safer and more ethical one.
Yeah. So that's obviously examples of negligence in developing. What is some malicious developing?
Yeah.
Any stories about that?
So these are the fun ones. So Volkswagen, back in 2015, not you remember this one, they built a piece of software into their cars so that when they were being measured for emissions, the engine power went down. So they detected when they were
Very
in
smart, to
a
be
test
fair.
scenario. Oh, it's genius. They measured when they were in a test scenario and decreased the engine power so that they would fall within US regulations. In reality, they were outputting more than 40 times the legal US limit.
Wow. And that's a lot higher than Europe, is it?
Yeah, I can imagine so.
Yeah.
And do you know why?
Why?
The grand saving, you want a serious amount of money. They just didn't put in the catalytic converter. €500 or dollars per car.
That's crazy. That's a crazy amount of effort to save that.
Yeah.
I also would have always thought that was such an integral part of a car. Yeah.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of when Apple were updating their phones and making them slower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good thing they stopped doing that, huh?
Yeah. Maybe.
That's what they wanted to think. So they went in, and there's now repositories out there for most of these jokes called like Volkswagen or like kind of VW tests, where they will test when they're running unit tests and just make everything pass. Named after this. But man, Volkswagen got in serious trouble for this.
Yeah, I'd imagine so.
30 billion in fines, settlements, going back to customers. 30 billion.
Is there any figure on how much money they actually saved? Because obviously $500 or euros per, like, how many cars did they actually produce like this?
Yeah, I would imagine it would have been a not insignificant savings had they not been caught.
Yeah.
But the fact they're caught, these guys face jail time.
Oh, wow.
Some of the guys, to quote the US, Michael Horn, US boss of Volkswagen at the time, we've totally screwed up. So yeah, massive fines, criminal investigations. They had kind of 15 years worth of quarterly growth, year on year, growth, plummets.
Yeah.
Right? There's now no trust in Volkswagen.
Yeah.
Right, so serious. But if you think what came out of it was the concept called the New York Times test, right? Which was if your Git commit was posted to the New York Times for all to see, would you be proud of it? Right? If you had lie about emissions as your Git commit, is that something that you'd be able to stand behind?
Yeah.
Right? But to be fair, as the engineer in that situation, as the guy writing the code, it's very difficult to say no.
Yeah, I was thinking that's more of a business logic thing. Like that decision has been made way before you actually start coding it, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
So,
because it's already, the thing's not in the car.
Yeah.
So now you have to say, well, your manager's telling you to code, his manager's saying, we need this done.
yeah. So, did any developers go to jail for this?
Yeah. James Lang, he had been in Volkswagen for 30 years at the time. He helped develop the software in this cheat device. He got 40 months in prison. Lots of the rest of them mostly execs. Oliver Schmidt, Volkswagen exec, got 7 years
Yeah.
in a US federal prison. Hanno Jeldon, ex-head of Drive Electronics, got almost 3 years. Board members, lower level emissions managers. So a lot of people saw a lot of money gone and a lot of jail time out of this. It was a serious scandal.
That is really crazy. The impact that had as well. Because I feel like software is such a sheltered and cushy job. You could never imagine writing a piece of software that would send you to jail.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is insane. And I think that what a lot of people can take away from this is kind of the more negligent side of like when you're developing things for yourself or other companies, is like when you're in your kind of self-contained environment, developing in a way that will be safe and that will be ethical,
Yeah.
you know, and so you don't have to answer to the court, really.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the last thing we all want.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, Fred, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you so
very
much for having me.
Thank you.
It's been great.
All right, cool. I want to thank everybody for listening to this podcast series. Any additional information about the case studies or anything we talked about will be in the description.